Right, excellent afternoon to all those who are watching me across the states in Nigeria. They said the reason I love to hear from the horse's mouth is because I love it when it's direct. Quite a number of people have called my attention to it today. And I would say it's not just hearing from them directly, but, you know, having the feel of their presence, you know, and of course how passionate and fueled they have with when it comes to their responses, and of course feeling the pulses of their responses. It may not be the entire truth, but reporting and journalism shares the same assumption by always fetching the news directly from the source. And they say again, welcome to an interesting episode of Real Talk with Kike. I remain your convener, Kike Atanda-Owo, and of course I think it's important for us to hear what On This Day initial segment asks for us. Stay with me. When I return, I'll give my analysis on that. Stay with me. I'll be right back.
On this day in history, December 7th, 1135, the Kano City Wall in West Africa in what will become northern Nigeria is completed after 40 years construction, begun in 1095. Built by King Kijimazuto repel invaders, the 3.5-meter high and 1.4-meter thick, elaborately decorated mud wall features regularly spaced gates equipped with guard towers. In 1903, the wall is declared the most impressive landmark in West Africa by the Governor-General of British Nigeria, who urged its preservation. However, the growing population of Kano eventually destroyed all but fragments of the wall by the 21st century.
All right, many thanks for staying with me. And of course, On This Day initial segment, my takeaway thus far from it is the fact that the Kano City Wall, you know, completed in 1,000 and I think 135, 1,135, approximately 888 years ago, stood as a show of, you know, ancient defenses, you know, especially when it comes to the ingenuity in northern Nigeria, and of course recognized as West Africa's landmark in the 1903. And of course, all of this, as far as I'm concerned, is about the urban you know, expansion by the 21st century, you know, leaving only fragments of for modern day references like On This Day in History today that we are all talking about. And I just want to hope that, you know, things will continue to get better as we move forward. So it's time for a quick message from my sponsors. When I return after the message, the conversation will continue. Stay with me. I'll be right back. Right, this is the second series of the Interviewing the Interviewer, which kickstarted first edition this December. And Interviewing the Interviewer is a special TV short series that I'm honoring the outstanding work or work that journalists have done over the years, particularly in the last 365 days. And this is a series that pays homage to the tireless work of outstanding journalists and influential media practitioners in Nigeria who have shaped the perception of Nigeria around the world. And it's an opportunity to explore how their roles as journalists have changed over time and how they have influenced how the world views Nigeria. And of course, how Nigerians are also informed and educated about the country's development journey thus far. And of course, our struggles, or shall I say our challenges. And on today's series, I have Mr. Babajide Otitoju. He is the lead anchor of journalist Hangout on TVC television, and a prominent media practitioner, I must emphasize, with years of profound investigative journalism achievements. But before I delve further with my guests coming to join me in the studio, it's important for you to see his profile. And when I return, the conversation will continue. I'll be right back. All right, welcome to the show, Mr. Babajide Otitoju. It's a pleasure to have you in the studio today, I must confess to you. And you know what? Let me use this opportunity to say that you are one of the few journalists that I respect so much, and I want to say kudos to all the great work that you've been doing thus far.
Thank you so
I
much.
pray for God's strength, and for you
much.
lending your voice on issues, that affect us all. But how are you doing today, sir?
I'm fine. I'm fine. So good to see you again. I think I last saw you a long time ago, so it's such a good thing.
Yeah.
To do this with you.
Thank you so much. Thank you for doing this with me. So let's just dive straight to the topic at hand, because you are an outstanding journalist, and many Nigerians, have grown to appreciate your work, just like I've said earlier, especially when it comes to journalist Hangout and on the cases of terrorists and insecurity in Nigeria, with first-hand reporting, on military activities. I remember vividly that I had to follow your work then, because I was actually keen to how you deliver your job. So I must ask, what motivated your love, for reporting, especially when it comes to the military activities, and how did you establish, how would I put it now, the trust with the military to gain, unprecedented access to accomplish your mission at the time?
Yes, I had an uncle.
Okay.
We lost him in 1987 while he was on course at the Command and Staff College in Jaji, Kaduna State. He made me to have so much love for the military because of the way they dress, their uniform all starched, and the way I used to see his junior colleagues mill around him, saluting him at every opportunity, and the respect that the society had for men and women of the armed forces was not lost on me as a kid. So I enjoyed every bit of my time with my uncle, Joseph Oluyori. He died as a major in an accident while going to Jaji in 1987. And then, because of the love that I had for him and the armed forces, I began to read a lot of military literature. There is the Jane's Defense Weekly, probably the best read military journal of the 80s and 70s at that time. It really shaped my love, shaped my interest in military affairs. And I began to show so much interest in the armored corps of the army, because my late uncle belonged to the armored corps.
Okay.
And great army officers at that time were also in the armored corps. It was the rarefied and the very well respected corps of the Nigerian army. President Babangida belonged to the armored corps. People like General Lurin, and some of the big generals of that era were members of the elite Nigerian Army Armored Corps. So I also began to show interest in the Armored Corps, even of other countries like the US Armored Corps. I was interested in their weaponry, their armored tanks, their armored fighting vehicles. So I was just a kid in love of the military. And I remember when I visited President Babangida for the first time in 2006, I asked him to tell me his favorite armored tank. So he looked at me and said, "Oh, are you someone who likes the military that much?" So I fired the question to him the second time. I said, "Okay, between the Russian T-72 main battle tank and the US M1A1 Abrams, tell me the armored tank that you prefer." he now looked at me and said, you see, both weapons have their advantages and disadvantages. The T-72 Russian tank is very durable. The American M1 Abrams is heavy. It will get the job done, but in terms of its durability and applicability to the situations that we have on ground in our country, he would prefer the Russian-made T-72 main battle tank. Of course, they've gone on to do T-90, and they have other armor tanks better than T-72. And the Nigerian Army still uses the T-72 today. In fact, I was privileged to take a ride in it when I went to Maiduguri sometime last year. So this is, I love the Army. I love the armed forces generally. I love the Air Force. I could talk about the military, their weapon grade systems and all that for a whole day. And with time, we used to quarrel with the armed forces because I will report exactly what I've seen. And I don't like being accompanied by the military to even dangerous places. I'm prepared to take the risk, to go there myself, find out the real truth. Sometimes when you report exactly what you've seen, then all hell will be let loose.
Absolutely.
But with time, when they saw just how principled I am as a journalist and my commitment to the truth, they found a way to bring me closer. And that's why I began to have access to the Tucano jets. Once they got to Nigeria, I was the first journalist to get on the Tucano jets. I've flown with the Air Force on some of their platforms, like the ground attack helicopters and even the reconnaissance aircraft. So they found a way to bring me closer because they've seen that, look, they could benefit from my interest in the armed forces and my extensive fan base, to let the world know that, look, they are not just playing, they are risking their lives, they are doing a lot of work to ensure that you and I are safe.
Fantastic, fantastic insights right there. Many thanks for running us through what motivated your love for the military activities. Yes. But, you know, over the last 365 days, there's been an improved perception in our security, so to speak, you know, allegedly, in terms of dropping reports on terrorists and, of course, the banditry as well, from your own perspective. Now, do you think that there's an access, or will I say there's an access Nigerians, you know, need to know regarding the progress in the fight against terrorists, especially when it comes to insurgency, especially in the north? I need to emphasize on the north, because I know that there's a lot of challenges, you know, that is posed by the banditry in the northwest and in the north central. Yeah. Do you believe, sir, that the change of this administration, you know, that we are working with will bring a lot of change in the military tactics, especially when it comes to the effectiveness and how quick they are able to respond to issues? Or you just feel it's just all about politics in play, because there are quite a number of people who have, you know, different perspectives to the issue at hand against fighting the terrorists in the north central?
I think that we are lucky to have the service chiefs that we have currently.
Okay.
Before the president made the appointment of service chiefs public, I remember talking about 4 officers that I felt should be among the service chiefs, because these are people that I've related with. I've interviewed them, I've dealt with them in the recent. Yes, I know their capacity, and speaking constantly with men of the armed forces, I am able to have access to some information that the ordinary people do not have access to. So I suggested four service chiefs to the president during an episode of Journalist Hangout. I can report to you that 2 out of 4 that I suggested are service chiefs today. The Chief of Defense Staff and the Chief of Army Staff, because I saw them as the best in the business currently. The Chief of Army Staff had distinguished himself tremendously in terms of fighting, taking the battle to the bandits. He would not simply go home to sleep, he would lead the boys to battle. Sometimes 3 days in the bush with them. I said all of this on the program, and he's very popular with his officers and men. So I was not surprised when the president picked him. I'm not saying that my going on air influenced the appointment. Well, I'm saying this because we need to find the right people to do the job. And fortunately, 2 out of the 4 persons that I felt were among the best that we had became service chiefs. And the Chief of Defense Staff had worked in Maiduguri as theater commander for years, and we experienced tremendous progress during his time as service chief. In fact, the whole idea of Boko Haram fighters coming out in droves to surrender their weapons and give up the fight, was the result of his extensive work. They too, it's not like they are ready to die at any point in time. When the bombing is ceaseless, they will tell themselves, look, this is not a fight that we can win. They can't defeat the Nigerian state, so they are coming out to surrender. So I'm happy that we have some very good service chiefs at the helm, but we must cause them to be on their toes at all times. If, because the rate of attacks on troops and on civilians has gone down significantly in the northeast, we leave them to believe that the battle is already won, we are going to regret, because the boys have not given up the fight. There are still remnants of Boko Haram prepared to kill our people. Remember, about 2 weeks ago, they attacked the convoy of the Yobe state governor. He was going to Abuja. So after they dropped him at the airport in Maiduguri, on their way back, the convoy was attacked and they killed some of the security people. Some were injured. So that's to tell you that the enemy has not been defeated. The enemy is still dangerous. But we have to constantly keep our eyes on the ball and ensure that the battle is won. I also think that a good number of them have relocated to the northwest.
Okay.
You can see that we are experiencing far more banditry in the northwest than we had experienced in years. It's because some of them have relocated, and the attack on that train, the Abuja-Kaduna train, was actually masterminded by Boko Haram fighters. So that's to tell you that some relocation have taken place. Some are in Niger State, in the Shiroro area. They've taken over communities in those areas. They are just there. We have many ungoverned forests that serve as natural habitat for these guys. So there's a lot of work that we still need to do if we are to defeat both banditry and terrorism, and we have to keep our service chiefs on their toes.
All right, many thanks for that elaborate submission right there, because you chose a niche, investigative journalism, and you have been awarded for all your contribution, especially your achievement in this field,
Yes.
and you are, with all that you've shared thus far, I must say that you're fearless, in reporting about terrorism. So what advice will you give, to the young journalists, based on your experience, especially when it comes to navigating all the challenges that you've mentioned right now and maintaining their journalistic integrity? Because what you've just shared right now, sir, with your experience, many people are not as fearless as you are. What's your advice for the young journalists today?
They must love the job passionately. You cannot go to the extent that I go if you do not genuinely love the profession. The problem we have is that a good number of journalists people are referred to as birds of passage. They found themselves in the profession because at some point they couldn't think of what else to do. If you genuinely love the profession, you'll be ready to take risk. Whatever obstacle is placed along your path, you'll be determined to surmount it. I could have given up. I could have chosen a different bit, for example, because I could investigate other things other than even security and all that. But I chose not to be disappointed. I mean, dispirited by some of what happened to me earlier. Sometimes the armed forces used some of their boys on social media to abuse me repeatedly because I was saying the truth. But today, nobody talks about the E-rats who were abusing me in those days because I was criticizing the military. They kept saying I love the Chadian army more than our army. I love foreign soldiers more than our soldiers. You know, but the fact is I celebrate successes recorded by our army more than anyone. But it won't stop me from saying, look, you are wrong. Don't do it this way. For example, we had this error bombing of civilians. And I've said, look, the army needs to focus more on its whole core area of competence. And they are surface troops. They are not supposed to operate in the air. They are not. We still have the Air Force. I believe that it is not time yet for the Nigerian army to be putting airplanes in the air and doing the work of the Air Force. And in this case, if you must use drones, you must ensure 100% guarantee of success in your bombing raids, because the drone is called unmanned area vehicle. There is no pilot in it. So when it drops that bomb, it has to be because it is sure, or it was sure of the targets, that these are not civilians, these are fighters. Maybe some of them are carrying weapons, some of them had rocket propelled grenades and all that. But where there are women and children and the drone is not able to survey the area sufficiently before dropping its weapon, this sort of thing will happen again. So we don't want to see that. We don't want to see our people lose their lives needlessly, as it happened on Sunday in Kaduna State. So I've suggested that the army should hold on for now, face their jobs as ground troops, and not begin to do the work of the Air Force.
Many thanks again for that submission out there, because I would like to ask you, because you have decided to keep journalist hangouts exclusively to, you know, practicing journalists and all of that. How has the decision, you know, influenced the program, especially when it comes to the content and identity? Because in whatever way you look at it, I feel that your contribution to this program, unbiased, you know, and your fair reputation have made the program stand out anyway. That's my first question to you. And my second question to you, because of time, is the fact that, you know, I would like you to elaborate more on the initial concept behind election 2015 and how it has evolved, you know, into journalist hangout today. Because I know that during that election period 2015, there were so many high points from your program. What's your submission thus far on these two questions?
You know, when I joined TVC as home news editor, and my focus was stories that break within the borders of Nigeria. So after a little over a year, the management decided to create TVC News. We called it at that time TVC News Nigeria, and I was made the channel head, the foundation channel head. That was the decision of the owner of the company. You know, and at that time, it was strange to people because I had just moved into broadcast journalism less than 2 years, and here was the owner of the company saying you must make him the head of the station, a new station. But I saw it as a challenge, and then we had to create programs. So at that time, the elections were close. And then I felt, okay, let's create election 2015. I had some bright boys around me at that time. Some of them are already dispersed to different TV stations. And we started election 2015. I wanted to do something that I used to do for Galaxy Television during the electoral seasons. When I was still a print journalist, we had a partnership with them. They would release me to go into their studio to do analysis, to predict electoral outcomes and all that. I knew I had the talent in that area because I could predict who will win an election. And you will see about 98% accuracy, you know, because I won't bring my biases in, you know. So I felt if we had that program with me on set, along with others, I could help the voters to make informed decisions. I could tell them, look, this is the person who will win, and they will see that that is what will happen. So, and I felt that if we did that on a sustainable basis, it will make the program popular. So we began E15. And E15 was so successful in terms of the viewership. People took to us quickly because of the way we were analyzing stuff. And I said, we will not bring people who are not journalists. We'll make it look like journalists relaxing in the evening and simply talking about what transpired earlier in the day. That was the concept. So we shut out politicians, we shut out lawyers, we shut out non-journalists, and it was successful. So after the election, it looked like, look, the program had already overstayed its welcome. But people were calling us to say, look, that E15, you need to bring it back. And we're like, oh, but the elections have ended. But the pressure from our viewers was so intense. We then decided that, okay, we'll bring this back, but we needed to change the name so that the name will no longer reflect 2015. So I was talking to our bosses and other people, trying to find the right name for the program. We won't change the focus of the program, but the name must change because the elections were over. So one day on the staircase at TVC of our main building, I saw our then finance director, and then said, okay, you've not suggested a name, or others have been suggesting a name to me. He just said, it should be Journalist Hangout. As a former tabloid editor and magazine editor, I'm somebody with an eye for headlines, you know. Once he said that, I said, that's it. So you will know when you find the right headline for a story. So I just decided that that was the thing, and then we continued. We faced pressures. Some will call the boss and say, look, I want to sit with these people. And the boss will say, Jide, please, even if it's once, let him sit. I said, the day he sits with us, we will not be able to stop others because they will point at the fact that this person, there was a minister in the Buhari regime who wanted to sit with us just to, because of the popularity of the program. And he called the boss. I said, no, sir, I won't agree, sir. I said, please, sir, tell him politely that the program is not designed to have someone like him sit with us. We could talk to him via Zoom or whatever, but he can't sit with us. They applied the pressure. I stood firm. In the end, he left us alone. He was not talking to me for a long time, but I have no regrets. We have kept it like that so that we can retain the character of the program and ensure to a large extent that we are objective.
Yes, I like the fact that you've been very objective on that platform, very unbiased, fair balances, because I followed that program through myself. But,
Thank you.
before I go on to the next question, I think it's important for me to quickly open our phone lines. In case you just joined the show, I have unveiled another prominent media practitioner we celebrated when it comes to his investigative journalist and, of course, their journalism. And, of course, in the series of Interview the Interviewer, I have the pleasure of having Mr. Babajide Otitoju, the anchor of Journalist Hangout on TV Continental, and he's been sharing his personal insights, with us on journalism, his works, national development, and of course, particularly in the area of security in our country, which I know that it's been a challenge over the years and it's beginning to become a culture. But guys, you can't call on this, call into the studio by calling the phone line 080-988-77400. It's showing on your screen right now. And of course, we're streaming live on Facebook and on YouTube, both on Real Talk with Kike and of course on Silverbird platform. Sir, I must say again, many thanks for creating time to be here today. Everything that you are sharing, there are quite a number of people I could hear my technical team, say, oh my goodness, he's so courageous, and that is the truth. And I hope that people who are listening to you today, especially the young ones, can take a lot of cue from what you've shared thus far. But your interaction with the government and the critics is also what I want to mention right now, because you mentioned in one of your interviews that you're facing a lot of challenges and clashes, with the government. You've shared one right now regarding a minister who wanted to be on the platform back to back, and also you've also shared about how you've been abused repeatedly on socials, So can you provide specific instances or share, insight into how you've dealt with all these challenges, especially with the new era of technology? Everything we do is being taken back to socials. How have you been able to maintain those challenges, especially when it comes to also people at the top, people in the corridor of power who are insisting that they have to be on a journalist hangout?
No, I think because I've repeatedly rebuffed attempts to get on our show to sit with us. They've stopped piling pressure to sit with us. Some are politicians who used to be journalists. And what I tell them is that, yes, I have to interrupt your line of thought. You are a journalist by training, but okay.
We have a caller, Tony from Lagos or from Festac. Are you there, Tony? Are you still there? Apologies for keeping you waiting.
Good afternoon.
Excellent afternoon to you. What's your contribution on the topic at hand?
I just want to appreciate the program and to say kudos to you for having Mr. Jide in the studio. He has been a very wonderful journalist. But want to appreciate him and appreciate your own program too, because I can see you have been neutral in your presentations, and moreover, Mr. Jide there is my very great friend. I mean, I like the man. He has been a wonderful journalist, doing a great job. Just want to encourage you guys to keep it up.
Many thanks, Tony. So like I was saying, how do you handle criticism and insults from individuals, including cyber threats, And I must ask you, with what Tony have just shared, that there's an idea, there's a line of thought that dropped in my head regarding how do you also maintain your commitment to truth telling? Because sometimes when pressures comes from different quarters, you want to be flexible. How do you maintain that?
It's a difficult job. It's a difficult job. I'm not perfect. We are all subject to all kinds of influences. But I try to be true to my conscience at all times. Sometimes when I take a position on some issues, especially political issues, people say, oh, it's because he works for so person, this and that. But they don't know that it's beyond that. Before the election, I had to predict what will happen across the states. I said APC, in the presidential election, APC will lose Kebbi State. They had a governor from APC. I said APC will lose Sokoto State. APC members, some of them in government were calling me, no. This one, you don't know what you are saying, no. They didn't want me to say their party will lose those states. There is no politician who belongs to a particular party that will be happy to hear you say on the eve of an election that they are going to lose. That's not what they want to hear.
So apologies, I have to interrupt you, Lana. There are a lot of calls coming in, but yes. I don't want to. I want you to join. Benedict from Port Harcourt, many thanks for calling. What's your contribution quickly on the topic at hand? Apologies, I have to let that go. I have to let that go because of time. We're actually pressed for time. Sir, with all you've shared thus far, sometimes, some news do not really, represent the actual fact and could be misleading. I keep it real on this platform as well, especially when it comes to some cases or some political parties, so to speak. Yes. How important is it for journalists to admit mistakes promptly? Because I always tell people that there's no perfection in us. And what strategies, I must ask you as a veteran in the industry, what strategy can they employ to enhance, their own reporting skills, knowing that today quite a number of people are all journalists, because once you have a camera in your hand, they just feel that it's time for them to start reporting. What's your advice for them?
There is no greater weapon for the journalist than hard work. I don't sleep early. I make sure that I read and read. Sometimes when I'm reading and I'm dozing, I still don't want to go to bed. I feel like reading. My wife will complain, isn't it time to go to bed? Have you not been at work all day? Sometimes the phone will fall. Just yesterday, this phone fell and it's broken. I'll fix it. I'll fix it, but I won't give up that appetite to read. That is what has helped me. I always say that facts are the tools of our trade, but you will not have sufficient facts if you are not a reading journalist. A lot of our people are not prepared to read. They don't want to push themselves hard enough. But the more you read, the more you learn. You must be a knowledge hunter as a journalist. And when you are a knowledge hunter and you know so much, chances are that the mistakes you make will be limited. And when you make a mistake, you must correct it immediately. Sometimes I make a mistake because it's a live show, for God's sake, and someone sends a message to me. Right there, I will say, I've just been told that this is also. Sometimes it's actually a viewer. Sometimes a viewer can mislead me. Another viewer will now say, no, this is, I will now say, I was misled. I will admit it right there. People will respect you if you admit your mistakes quickly. Yes, it's not something that, because you don't want to lose face. Even when you are wrong, you don't admit that you are wrong. It's a bad journalist that will be wrong and he never wants to agree that he's wrong. No man knows it all.
Absolutely.
We are all knowledge hunters. And once you can see clearly that you didn't get it right, or that this person has superior knowledge on that subject matter, you just slow down and let him have his way. Fantastic.
Many thanks again. There are quite a number of calls that are coming in on the show today wanting to speak with you. Unfortunately, I think at this rate, I just have to put a stop to the calls right now, because I need a lot of information, education, from our guests today. And talking about personal experience and reflection, I think I'll just ask you this double question, because, have there been instances where you feared for your life or any of your family members due to your journalistic work? And if yes, how have you been able to face such in terms of resilience and from within the military for your investigative reporting? Because when it comes to issues like this, I feel that it comes with a lot of conflict zones, and I'm wondering, how have you been able to manage that? That's the first question to you. And my second question to you, because of time, is because we have another last segment of the show, is the fact that looking back at your career, can you share a specific moment where you can say that you felt that this reporting had a more significant impact on your growth personally, or how it has changed your community or the world in a positive way?
I've done many great stories. It's difficult to point at one. But I think since I got on TV, my story on the Mambila power project is really special to me because I almost lost my life. I got exhausted. They had to one policeman had to throw a bottle of water at me because you have to descend to a valley. I went to the source of the dam. There is no road leading to Mambila. Mambila is more than 40 years old in terms of when we began to talk about it. But there's no road leading to Mambila. I had to take a ride, 2.5 hours ride on a bike to get to the source of the water. No one had done that story until then. In fact, the BBC went to the place recently. So I needed to show Nigerians that all these years, all these power ministers been telling us stories about Mambila. They've done nothing. No road. It's just a footpath leading all the way to a project capable of delivering 3,600 megawatts, even in dry season. It's an hydro project. And it's supposed to, the entire area is several times bigger than Lagos State. You know, the entire project site, several times bigger than Lagos State, spanning like 5 kilometers in the third largest state in Nigeria, which is Taraba. So I felt a big sense of satisfaction doing that story. Yes, I've done many stories. I've been to Sambisa unaccompanied, been to some of the dangerous places. Yes, in fact, when I went to this place, Konduga, I was almost arrested by soldiers because they said, who told you to go there? Did you take permission? What if you get killed? You know? So I've been to places, but I can say my story on Mambila, since I got on TV, stands out as the most satisfying for me. You know? And when you talked about threats and all that, even when I did that program where I suggested services to the president, I got a death threat.
For
what are you? You
personally or your family members?
No, for me.
You personally.
You know, and there was another threat sometime where the governor of Lagos State had to send 6 trucks of RRS men to surround my house. Governor Sanwo-Olu got to know that I had received a threat. They were coming to kill me in my house. He sent 6 trucks of RRS. The man who was heading the RRS at that time is the current commissioner of police in Rivers State, Tunjidesu, you know. So these things happen in the line of duty. But there is a quote that constantly comes to my mind.
Which is?
I read that quote as a 20-year-old. And it says, great journalists, like great soldiers, don't always die in their bed. So when I'm going out for a difficult story, whether it is flying with the Air Force in their warplanes, I know that there could be an accident. I could die. When I'm going out to do a dangerous story, going to a dangerous area, I know that I may not return alive. I may end up in a body bag. So I conquered fear a long time ago. Conquered fear. When I went to Zamfara in August last year, and I had to interview the governor, the first thing he said was, I'm sure before you came here, you and your family must have done a lot of night vigil. That was the first thing he said to me. But he was right because, no, not in terms, he was right in terms of the security situation. Because on my way back from a village called Jengebe, bandits were robbing a village. So I just told the security men, I said, let's wait until they are through. Because to drive through the village them seeing armed men that accompany me. I have 7 policemen will be dangerous. So I said, don't worry, let's just wait. When they are through, we'll move on. So these things happen. Some of them you don't expect, but death can come anytime. And whatever it is, as a journalist who practiced during the Abacha era, I conquered fear, because when others were leaving the country, I stayed put here. I said, whatever happens, somebody has to fight for.
Many thanks for sharing all of these insights with us, especially your island. And I think that I would like to end the show with the fact that
I've not said some of these things anywhere
else. Thank you so much.
It depends on the way the questions come.
Yeah, I know, I know. You can see that I also had to dig and do a lot of research, because I'm having a veteran in the industry, so I needed to come prepared. But I'll be, wrapping up on the segment on the fact that you said great journalists, like great soldiers, do not die on their bed. I hope that a lot of people, even in other industry, will take a cue from this when it comes to consistency and putting in the hard work. With all my guests today I've shared, Mr. Babajide Otitoju, many thanks again, many thanks for being here. But before I let you go, there's this last segment of the show. I hope I have time before they start running commentary in my ears. The first trending story that caught my attention, and that of the anger as army bombs Kaduna villagers. And with you in the studio, I felt that this is the right trending that I must bring to fore. But before I get to your submission, let me quickly say this, because this is a painful and undeserving one, if you ask me. I can imagine villagers being wary of terrorists right now being unsafe, because of the error of the military, who is meant to protect them from adversaries. So in my head, I'm like, why on earth would such a thing come to fall at this time? But again, I sympathize with the families of those who have died due to this error. This tragedy, or this tragic incident, resulting in the death of about 85 civilians, is deeply distressing, if you ask me. The loss of innocent lives during a religious celebration is a grave matter, if you ask me, that requires thorough and impartial investigation that even my guests today always stand eye on. And as rightly ordered by also President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, that investigation must kick in. So I call for calm. It's essential for us during this challenging time to keep our emotions together. I know emotions are running high among citizens affected by this appalling incident, but this acknowledgement from the bombing mishap and the commitment, to a comprehensive inquiry demonstration, as far as I'm concerned, from the government is as good as taking responsibility and also commitment to accountability. And it's crucial that the investigation must not only, determines the facts leading to this mistaken, drone strike, but also addresses, from what my guest, Mr. Babajide Otitoju, have also shared today, that the broader issue of ensuring that the protection of civilians during this conflict zone is very important, and the commitment to preventing a repeat of such tragedies and prioritizing, the safety of the people is also something that I must, bring to fore, or commend, as well as also as Governor Uba Sani has also mentioned. And as citizens, I express, the fear, or express the fear of the aftermath of the incident. And it is a responsibility, again, I must emphasize, knowing that I have my senior colleague in the studio that is saying that, government is not only going to investigate on this, but also to provide support to the affected families and ensure that they receive adequate compensation and justice. Quickly, sir, in 1 minute, what's your take on this trending? Is one of your
It's very painful to lose innocent lives in this manner. They are not bandits. These are largely women and children. We must not drop a bomb anywhere unless we are sure that they are bandits or terrorists. I interviewed the Air Force chief recently, and he said, look, to avoid, we talked about collateral damage, and he said to avoid it, that these days they make sure that they don't drop a bomb unless they are sure. That should be our watchword. And as I've said earlier, I think that drone attacks, we should even leave drones for now, because of all the air platforms, drones are the most likely to cause this kind of accident, because they are not manned by human beings. You can't look down. A pilot could look down, and when he can see that these ones look like women and children, he may just not drop the bomb. But the drone has no means of checking whether they are human beings or not. It will drop his payload and go. So for now, we have to take steps to ensure this does not happen again. And as you said, those who are whipping up sentiments over it, in the name of God, they need to stop. Someone said, no, this was dropped deliberately. No, now, we've had similar accidents. Let's focus on ensuring that this does not happen again. Not saying that it was done, that there are those people who are killed deliberately. I do not believe they were killed deliberately.
I do not believe that too. But we should be more careful going forward. Quickly, let me touch on this second trending with 2 minutes. And the second trend is about Okojo Iweala and Mo Abudu, that makes 100 most powerful women on Forbes list. And I must emphasize on this: train your child, train your child, train your child. It's important for us,
whether it's a woman
to train, just train your girl child. Because this is what happens when a girl child is being trained right. You will blossom.
The right way,
yes. And Dr. Ngozi Iweala,
we always say the women are coming. They do not know that the women are coming.
Yeah, the women are coming, just like you said. And Dr. Ngozi Iweala, of the World Trade Organization, WTO, has once again been recognized among Forbes magazine 100 most powerful women in the world as the 87th most powerful woman in the world. And of course, Dr. Iweala, is our contribution to global trade, dedication to economic development, governance, international leadership, name it, has been recognized over the years. And we have the inclusion of another Nigerian media mogul, Monisola Abudu, who is popularly known as Mo Abudu, who have secured, the 98th position on the list. These 2 women exemplifies, the diversity of talent within Nigeria, but also emphasizes on the broader narrative of African women.
And they are always successful at everything they do.
Absolutely, playing the pivotal roles on the global stage. And this achievement is more than a personal triumph, if you ask me. It's a celebration of resilience, it's a celebration of brilliance, it's a celebration of capacity and capability of African women. And as a leader or leaders of influence and also change makers, they have contributed not only in their respective field, if you ask me, but also to the collective advancement of our name called Nigeria abroad. And Nigeria has a rich pool of talent, if you ask me, from citizens that excel on the international stage. And in an era where representation matters, I feel that the acknowledgement of these, influential women also contribute to the reshaping of perception about the capabilities and potential individuals from the African continent. I say a big congratulations to them again, to those women working tirelessly on the road to this list. People like me, yes, I say, keep the good works, look forward to seeing more women, or even me in the nearest future on the list. Yes, because I'm not slowing down anytime soon, guys. No, and I want to say
they offer to you immense motivation.
Many thanks.
If they can get there, you can get there.
Absolutely, absolutely. Many thanks again,
Mr.
Babajide.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
I've had a nice time, I have to admit it.
Oh, I'm glad. I'm glad to hear this from you. Thank you so much. And I want to wish you the very best, you and your family. Thanks. I pray for God's blessings and God's mercy upon you, and continuous favor and grace. I want to say thank you so much again for creating time to be on the lunch show today. Thank you so much, sir. I really, this means so much to me. Thanks. And on this note, this is where I draw the curtains of the show. Till I come your way next week. Oh my God, you do not want to miss the next veteran who is going to be on this hot seat next week. But be kind to one another, and please stay safe. Bye now.